Good morning, everyone. In this week's Torah portion, we have the commandment of the tzitzit. Torah says if you have a four-cornered garment, you should put fringes on it. And the tzitzit on the talit will remind you of all the commandments of God. The question is, how does the tzitzit with the talit and the tzitzit on it remind us of God's commandments? So the commentaries explain that the word tzitzit has 5 letters. And if you add up the numerical value of the 5 letters, it equals 600. Tzadik Yud Tav. Tzadik is 90, Yud is 10. The second Tzadik is another 90, and then another Yud is another 10, and then the Tav brings it to 600. And then each fringe has 5 knots on it and 8 strings. So you have the 600 of the word tzitzit, the numerical value. The 5 knots is 605. The 8 strings brings it to 613. And there are 613 commandments. And the question is, when you see a talit with tzitzit on it, with fringes, do you ever start doing the math in your head? Well, since tzitzit equals 600 and you have 5 knots and 8 strings, 613. What does the number 613 remind us of? The 613 commandments. Whoever does that, no one ever does that, practically. So what's the point of the tzitzit reminding us of the 613 commandments? And perhaps that's exactly the point of the mitzvah. You see, the Torah portion began with the story of the spies. And we all know what happened. The spies went and they were told, you should see the land of Israel, just like we're told to see the tzitzit. But what happened? They looked and they came back with a negative report, a pessimistic report. And as a result of that, the Jewish people had to wander for 40 years in the desert. And therefore, the Torah says the failure of the spies was that they didn't look properly. They did not look with eyes of faith, with eyes of courage. They didn't look with the proper eyes and the proper perspective. They only looked at things superficially. And therefore, they drew the wrong conclusions and a negative impression of the land of Israel and came back and said, the land is too strong, the people are too powerful, we cannot conquer it. And therefore, to rectify the sin and the mistake of the spies, the Torah says you should see the tzitzit. But just to see it physically is not enough. You have to see it with eyes of insight. You have to look deeply and think about what you're seeing. You have to take a second look at what you're seeing and think about the meaning and the message behind what you're looking at. And then you'll come to the proper perspective and the right conclusions. So often in life we look at things quickly, we take a glance at something, but we don't take the time to think about what we're looking at and to think beyond the superficial appearance and surface, to see the essence and the core, what lies behind. And that's the message of tzitzit. Don't just look at things quickly without thinking. Think about what you're looking at, and then you'll see the deeper dimension, and then you'll have more compassion, more understanding, more appreciation, more gratitude, and a deeper connection to everything and everyone around you. Last month, when the playoff series of baseball between the Yankees and the Tampa Rays began, they honored a 100-year-old Holocaust survivor to throw out the first ball in the ceremonial pitch in the Tropicana Stadium in Tampa, Florida. Who is this woman? Her name is Helen Kahn, and she celebrated her 100th birthday, and she's a Holocaust survivor. She was born in Romania, and in 1944 she was sent to Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp, and she survived. And here she was at her 100th birthday with a jersey that said Helen Kahn with the number 100 on it, surrounded by all of her 5 children and her grandchildren and her dozen great-grandchildren, as she threw out the first ball, something she'd never done in her life, thrown a baseball. And when you look at this little old woman, if you met her in the street, you would think she's just an ordinary person. And here she is, a survivor who lived and rebuilt her life after the Holocaust. And she would say that whenever she celebrated a family gathering, she would say to her family, if Hitler could see us celebrating this holiday, this Jewish festival, this family gathering, think about how angry it would make him. and how joyous this occasion for us is that we triumphed over Hitler. Don't look at people with ordinary eyes. Look with eyes of understanding, of compassion, of understanding. Don't just take a quick look at things. Look deeply, and then you will connect with all the commandments of God. Have a wonderful day.